Good evening, everyone, and welcome to IKYA Live, world news from the spiritual perspective and your premier news program for discussing the world's events and things happening around us from that spiritual perspective. My name is Andy. I am your operations manager here at IKYA Center in Oslo, Norway, and it is a great pleasure to have all of you with us tonight for this fantastic episode of IKYA Live about the year of the fire horse and how that we might make the most of this year and all of its potentials. So a reminder that tonight is a discussion, and as we've mentioned in the chat here on YouTube Live, it is for you to send in your questions and comments so that we can have a lively exchange and discussion with IKYA about this fantastic year that's opened in front of us. We have a big live studio audience tonight with lots of questions as well, so we'll be going back and forth, but we do look forward to really digging into this topic from the spiritual perspective and how to combine your spiritual path with the potentials of this year. And before we get started, right now already like the video and share it with your friends and family so that we can get even more people to join us for the live sending and get a more lively discussion. And I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it over now to spiritual teacher IKYA and the year of the fire horse.
Welcome to your best year ever. As you've noticed, there is a bit of fire going on in the world right now, and it will increase. And why is that a good thing? Fire can only kill or destroy what's already dead. If you think of it, when something is juicy and plump, it will not catch fire. It's only when things have dried up, when it's dead, right? So, if you take wood, for example, when it's living tree, it's more difficult to, light it on fire. You want the wood to be very dead and very dry for a long time, and then it catches fire. So, the energy of fire is first of all a cleansing one. It's an energy that can assist you in letting go and get rid of whatever is stopping you. Now, I often talk about how nature works in the way that for as long as something holds potential, it is alive. The moment it does no longer hold potential, it will die. So plants, they grow until they die. Everything in life grows until it suddenly does not, and then it's dead. Then the energy will shift form. And the fire in our life is both cleansing and inspiring and lifting and healing and destroying and everything at the same time. And this year is quite special because in especially, Chinese astrology, it's called the year of the horse. But this year is very special because it's the year of the fire horse. Now, it is because we're closer to the sun. So it represents more of that fire energy. And we will get back to the different kind of constellations that we're in now that are all supporting this energy and making it more potent. And this type of year that we're experiencing now has not happened for more than 2,000 years. So it is a very special year. And it will do things to you. It will affect you. And this energy is working. And just like, as I've said before, this year will change world history. And that is also the potential in your life. To not be a passenger, but to be a creator. And in a little while, Nora, who's working with Srishti astrology, which is the type of astrology I'm basically reintroducing, is placing you in the center as the creator. Often astrology is about you experiencing life as something that is happening to you. And then one uses astrology to understand, oh, why is this happening? When is this happening? What am I supposed to do? So it's all fatalistic. this approach to astrology works from a much higher level. So when you are the creator, it's about divine navigation. It's about you understanding the potential and what life is giving to you, the materials that life is giving to you, so you as the creator can then express yourself as a true divine being and understand your life as how all of that has been laid out, because there is a divine plan for you. And often in our lives, we're doing everything but the divine plan, and then we complain about it because that's when we suffer. Nature, life will only support what is in your actual path, right? What is your actual spiritual unfoldment, right? Just like if you're a flower, life will not support you trying to be a carrot because you are that flower. And it's understanding both what your journey is and how you may reach your full potential in full consciousness and have fun. Because life is about joy, creating, having fun. It's about love, it's about sharing, it's about connectedness. All the other stuff is just when we are not in alignment with our own true path. And this is a year where we should really try to play around with our own path and figure out what life has in store for us, and learn to become better navigators, and learn more about our own communication with life. Because fire is passion, it's healing, it's cleansing, and it's also the remanifestation of everything. Now, when you look at the fire horse as a concept, it's very connected, like closely connected to being a fire bird. When we look at the mythology around the phoenix bird, right? That's the type of bird, the mythological creature that bursts into flames, right? And then it remanifests. And what's the point of that? Now, each time it is supposed to become more true, more pure. So when it goes through its learning, and it then gets to the point where its current form will no longer serve its purpose. It will burst into flames. So in that process, it will be cleansed for everything that is now impure, that belongs to the past, so we can remanifest in the point of here and now in a pure and more true form. And this may also happen to you this year. Not that you necessarily burst into flames, but but you may use this energy to more swiftly work out karma and old patterns and stuff that no longer holds potential, right? Because that will be dry and old and will catch fire. As we often see when it comes to spiritual cleansing through fire, as I always say, it is only what you're supposed to let go of that can be kind of burned out through the holy fire. What is supposed to still be there will then be purified and even more prominent, because you're not using your energy to hold on to stuff that's already dead. Right? So working with fire in the spiritual sense is a very important part of our cleansing and sharpening our consciousness and intention. Because as humans, we have a tendency to focus on the little things. And especially today, I've talked about this extensively, that when a human experiences stress, we limit our consciousness. We become less advanced. We become more primitive. And the brain goes into a more binary state where we see things as black and white, right or wrong, life or death. Because when we are stressed, when we have fear, think of way back in human evolution, when things got dangerous, you can't sit down and have a group meeting. You cannot discuss and analyze. It's black or white. So when we experience stress in our life, when we experience fear, we become more binary. And we stop seeing nuances. And our whole society now is living in that chronic state of fear and stress. And so are you, because you're living in this world. And, you know, we are affected by it. So your level of stress is much higher than what people experienced only 2 generations ago. There's a lot more fear, right? And we have so many different ways to deal with it. People experience, you know, depression, anxiety, this or that. They're not content with their lives. You know, people break out of their relationships because they're feeling, you know, a lot. And there's so much noise, and we self-medicate because we can't stand being ourselves or being with ourselves or being with other people, or our lives are too complicated. So we experience a lot of stress, and it's systemic and it's biological, right? But that also means that we limit our consciousness. And when we're not able to deal with the big things, because there is so much noise and we're basically scattering our energies in all directions, right? It means that we can only use a little bit of energy in each thing. And think of most of you in your lives. You feel that you're pulled in different directions, right? Living in this civilization means you have to deal with a lot of things. The natural thing for a human being is dealing with one thing at a time. Maybe one thing per day. Sometimes not even that. Humans like things to move slow. And then we're happy, which is why humans always prefer the dream of, you know, living in the countryside, in a small rural community where nothing really happens, right? But today, too much is happening. And it means that when we are kind of scattered, we have very little bandwidth for each thing in our life. So we run around trying to solve small things, small details, all over the place. And at the end of the day, we've used up all our energy, so we can't really do anything about the big stuff. We just have to get by and get through. And then the big stuff just happens because we're not able to even plan or set like big strategies. So, through that, it gets worse because the little things in life are there because we have bigger lines, bigger plans. Now, just think of it as a tree. When you have the main branch, all the smaller branches come out from that main branch, and then you have even tinier branches, and then you have a leaf, hopefully. So it's the main branches that dictate the rest. Now, in your life, it's the same way. So when we experience too much stress and too much fear, it means that we lose track of the big branches. And we're on trying to arrange and make sense of the little things, one by one. And we get trapped and we get lost. And then we get sick. The key is that we need to lift our consciousness to the main movements, the main branches, the main paths in our lives. And understand, once we stay in that energy and that focus, everything else are what we call fractalizations, are kind of details coming out of those main branches, those main paths in our lives. So when you have consciousness of kind of what you're really doing, your kind of main movements, everything else will arrange themselves based on that main focus. When we do not have that main focus, you'll live in a constant chaos that you're trying to arrange and make sense of. This is the year to try to go back to the main roads, to the pillars of your life, what actually matters. Because this year matters. I cannot underscore this enough. This year, just like this year, is changing world history. The decisions you make this year, the choices you make, how you behave, who you want to be, will decide your path for the rest of your life. It's happening now as we speak, because this is the energy. So when you have this combination of factors of different planetary energies, this is what's happening. And then we better, get up on the horse. So today, this year, we have the option between riding the horse or being trampled to death by it. Because these energies are happening. And if you're not paying attention, if you're not deciding to get with it, you will experience that things are happening to you beyond your control. And that will then be your path. Because this year will kind of decide and kind of set the tone. So this is the year for the big events, the big changes, the big thoughts, the big conversations, focusing on things that matter. Most things don't matter, right? But the thing is, once we lose track of the big image, and many people today, they have no sense. So what is my big image, right? Why am I here? What am I doing? What's the map? How to navigate? Because you can't navigate unless you can connect with your landscape or your map. Then it's just a lot of things happening for no reason at all, and everything feels random, right? So at least we should eat candy, right? Because we just need to get by, and so we go from one emotion to the next instead of looking at the bigger strategies. And this takes training, because this society, this civilization, is training all of you to lose consciousness, to lose awareness, to lose any understanding of what you're doing and why. So you run around depressed and confused, depleted, and without any sense of navigation. And then it can be manipulated. You can be told anything. And you will do anything because you feel worse and worse. This is the year to try to reverse this. This is why you need the fire energy. But it's the fire energy combined with wanting to get back on the horse. For real. So, we need to learn to focus on things that matter. Now, when we are in a state of overwhelm, we are basically inflamed, and the big things will all seem to too much, right? I can't right now. So when we're stressed and overwhelmed, we don't want to deal with the big things because it's simply too much. And then that becomes permanent. And then all we can do is rearrange the cushions instead of moving house, instead of changing our life path, making major decisions. So, and we see this in our civilization. I've mentioned this several times, that when we lose track collectively of the big things, because the brain is hardwired to focus on big things, then we turn small things into big things as if they matter. So now, someone saying a wrong word, right, is now equal to being a mass murderer, right? They are judged as harshly in the court of the public opinion, right? Because we focus on small things, outrage over things that don't matter. And try to look at this in yourself. How much of what you focus on in your life are just crumbles? How much of the things you actually think about, things you react to, how much of that actually matter in the big picture? Most people have forgotten that there is a big picture. A big picture that you are in charge of. So this here holds the potential of you to kind of redirect your consciousness, redirect your focus, and lift yourself back on the main road. Instead of always taking the scenic route until you don't know where you are, right? But it takes training. So, one thing I would like to invite you all to do is to do things that matter. Now, what does that even mean anymore? Because it is not what matters to you. Because at this point, for most people, that's just more self-medication, more emotions, more ways to avoid dealing with the big things. So it's not about what matters to you. It's what matters in the world. Because your big picture will always be beyond you. It will always be beyond your emotions, your needs, how you can make things work. Because when you focus on the big picture, everything will work. So, things that matter. And then you have to look at the world. And you should ask yourself, how can I contribute in a way that makes this world a better place because I'm here? What can I do concretely and for real? Right? It can be, taking care of your family, that matters. But not just from a perspective of getting by. What do you want? Why is it important to take care of your family in a bigger picture? Right? It's educating little people so that when they grow up, they can influence the world and be part of the big change and not just survive. You see, so many young people today, they're already lost. Right? Educating young people, bringing them up, teaching them how to be someone, to have a backbone, to have ethics, to be selfless, to have ambition beyond themselves is important. Establishing or working on a family dynamic of love and support is important. In your profession, are you making a difference? And if not, why do you have that job? It's a waste of time. If you're not making a difference in the world, get a new job. We can all make a difference for real. We have no excuse, because maintaining the existence of your incarnation is a waste of time. When you focus on what matters, that will be taken care of. Life will always support the ones who create, the ones who are part of the ongoing creation of the universe, not the ones who consume it. So, look at your job. Are you making a difference? Right? Those are the things we need to look at. In your attitudes, are you making a difference? And I often say, the way we can test ourselves is saying, if everyone in the world had this thought, would that uplift the world or pull it down? If everyone in the world had this emotion or this feeling, would that be uplifting, or would it pull it down? If everyone in the world did what I'm doing right now, would it bring the world forward, or would it just destroy it? You could also be involved in politics, in your community, charity work, business. Even business is an excellent way to change the world, because then you're building a presence, you're part of leading the economy in a different direction. You can do anything, but look at your life. Are you, in concrete ways, making a difference? Focus on what matters. The rest will fall into place. And this is part of what we have forgotten. Right? Because when everyone just walks around trying to get by, we're lowering our consciousness. And we leave that to the corrupt. And part of the fire energy is that truth has a tendency to surface. And what's happening this year is that we're starting to see the face of global power and people in power, right? The level of corruption and debauchery, right? This is just the surface. It's a lot worse. But it is because people let them do it. Right? They have power because people don't want to deal with their lives. They don't want to deal with what actually matters. So they leave that to others, meaning that, yeah, those people do it. They can only do it for as long as you allow it. And then you have to practice it in your own life. Are you taking that level of responsibility for yourself and for your journey? Or are you kind of leaving it to others? Because if you are, you're part of the problem. But this year, the fire energy means also that, yeah, more of this will surface. So we can see more clearly what's going on. And then it's time to make adult decisions. Are you making adult decisions? Right? These are the types of processes we need to have, these types of conversations we need to have with ourselves, because this is a year where nature will support any process of actual change, any process of actual growth. So, when you are riding the fire horse, it will take you places. Right? So, this year, let everything else be. Details can wait till next year. Right? Give yourself this year to make real changes, to focus on things that matter. Now, also when we're closer to the sun, of course it's not that much closer, but in astrology we'll say, well, yeah, we're closer. And the sun also represents the face of God. And that is the face of truth, right? But it's also the divine presence. So it's almost like, as an image, think of the face of God being closer to this planet and looking at what's going on, right? And that means that objective reality will be more visible. The stories will still be there, but if you want truth, it's more easily available. Your ability to observe, to be objective, will increase, because that will also be mirrored. Meaning that you have to want that objective look, not just on life, but also on yourself. Which is why we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing and why? And shouldn't I be doing something else or something more or better? Is my life leading me towards my high potential? Or am I just walking in circles? Like in a low consciousness, what seems like a line will often turn out to be a circle. But you will only see it once you begin to zoom out. Right? We have to want the big picture. We have to want to see it and also to be seen. So one exercise I give people this year is, the old religious one, but we could use it, is God is watching you. That is one of the elements of this year, with this planet being closer to the sun in the year of the horse, because it means that that observation is there. So if we think of, in religions, this concept, God is watching you, it's used to install fear. But we should use it as a way to get a more objective look in ourselves, because God is love, it's not judgment. So if we think that the eyes of love are watching you, and that you can try to see yourself through those eyes, then meditation you can see, okay, if God is watching me, what is God seeing? When there's no judgment, there's only love. There's only your journey from the point where you are now until enlightenment. It means that God will see the potential, will see the journey. He will also see what you're doing, if it's working or not. And He will want to assist you in your growth and healing and expansion. So when life is showing you do this instead, it's not to judge you. It's to encourage you to get better results. So try to think as often as you can this year, God is watching me. And try to see through the eyes of God, through the eyes of love, through the eyes of healing, through the eyes of potential. And then make better choices. Think the way you would be thinking if you had a conversation with God. Feel the way you would feel if you were having a conversation with God. And behave as if you were having a conversation with God. Because you are. Just like this civilization, we have forgotten everything. But God is watching you. And this energy in the state is more available to all of you this year. We should use it. So, seeing more truth in yourself, right? And wanting to see past our bullshit, because the brain will make so many stories to stitch together the attempts that's moving little details around, making sense of it. The brain has to make sense of it, otherwise it can't function. You cannot operate as a cohesive human being. And you will use your observations and experiences on the level that you're at. So when you're in a low level consciousness, that information is available to you and you will stitch it together. So you'll have a lot of stories and narratives that are supposed to help you, because your brain only knows what it knows. So your own experiences and what you know, that's all there is. And it will have to make sense of it and stitch it together so it kind of works. Once you allow yourself to move into higher consciousness, you will have access to more. you will then be able to access both images and states where you can see far beyond the kind of like outer rim of your own experiences. Because there's a limit to how much you can experience. So there are obviously, big parts of kind of your landscape where you haven't been yet, that you have not experienced, but it's still there. So in a higher consciousness, you can begin to connect with what is beyond your knowledge, what is beyond your experience, so that you get a fuller and more correct understanding of your map, which is why divine navigation is really important. Because from up there, the path looks different. What matters looks different. Your opportunities look different. What you should focus on look different. And this year it's more available than ever. So, try to make a commitment to wanting life to show you and to never, ever defend yourself. Because once we have made our own map, stitched together by bits and pieces and our own imagination, we will defend it because it's all we got, right? And it's based on our own experiences and thoughts, and it's real to us, so we will protect it, we will defend it. And then when life is showing us maybe there's more, we don't trust it. And this is also what we see today when people are at this level of fear and stress. We only trust ourselves. Just look at how people relate to science today, right? Or even real education or real knowledge. Everyone's an expert, especially if they have no education at all, because then it's called common sense, right? It used to be called, being an embarrassing idiot, but now that is on par with, being a scientist, right? And it's because of the fear and stress that we can only rely on ourselves. When there's fear and you don't know who's friend, who's enemy, and you don't understand anything, you can only trust your own instincts. You go back to the binary state. So when you have to trust yourself, you can't trust anyone else. It doesn't matter what they say, because they could trick you. You have to rely on your own experience, your own thoughts, and common sense. So that's what people are doing now. And it lowers the consciousness, but it's where we are. But in spiritual work, it is really important that we try to snap out of this. Because you are affected by this far more than you think. Because it's now the culture. Right? It is very difficult in this climate to maintain a loving heart, to maintain a higher consciousness, to maintain the communication with the divine. But without it, you're lost. And the thing is, when you're lost, it doesn't help if you're found. Because being lost means that you have lost your navigation skills. Being found doesn't help. You have to learn how to navigate again. Right? And this is what you need to focus on, but especially this year. To kind of get back on the horse, get back in the driver's seat. Refresh your skills. Look at what you are doing. What you're doing to yourself, how you have been tricking yourself, moving into things that don't matter, losing the position of observation, and do what is necessary to learn Figure out what skills you want. Also life skills. It's not just about navigation, it's making your life matter. Maintaining your incarnation is not why you're here. Because that's, as I've often explained, is trying to, you're just like washing the car and fixing it in the garage, but you never drive it. So whatever you do in your life to maintain your life is not why you are here. Get back on the horse. And this is a wonderful thing about this year. When you have the horse, the year of the horse is the year of swift movement, right? Transportation. Great movement, great changes. And when you have the fire horse, even more so. You can make enormous progress in your life, but not if you're standing next to the horse, right? Because it's not just your own efforts, it's how life wants to transport you. And I've also explained earlier that what we're seeing energetically on this planet, there is a tear in the fabric. Now, and that means that this reality, there is a tear, meaning that other realities are available. There is a bridge between this reality and others, and it's influencing this planet, this consciousness. So there are both more activity, things surfacing about, cultures from other planets, other dimensions, presence, also increasing people experiencing other dimensions. And also, there is a contact between this level and where this planet is going, because there is a shift into what we often refer to as the new paradigm for the planet, which is kind of like when the civilization is dying and the new one is coming. As it will be, by the middle of next century, this shift will have happened. So now the information of what has happened next century is beginning also to kind of flow in to assist humans in navigating towards it, meaning that more people will be inspired. There will be more ideas, more innovation, more everything that will point in that direction. So there's a lot of fun things going on. But this is also happening because it's needed for this planet to move through this phase of its own evolution as quickly as possible. And I've compared this to moving on quicksand. Because if you're too slow, you will sink and you will die. So you have to keep moving. So there's a certain pace, a certain speed that makes sure that you can basically move on the surface and crawl on the surface without sinking. And what we're experiencing now and for decades to come is that these big transformations require the civilization of this planet to work out karma more quickly. So nature wants us to move through this phase more swiftly. Because the point is for us to make it, not for us to destroy ourselves. So everything is then increased when it comes to speed and how things are happening. So everything is like a fast forward movement. The fire horse. So this year is also changing the speed of how quickly things are happening on this planet. And that also means the speed available to you in your process, in your healing, in where you're going, in your transformation. But you have to be on the horse. You cannot just sit in your living room. Because it's bigger than you. And also think, if you had a horse in your living room, would that take you somewhere? It would most likely destroy your living room because it's a horse. And think of now a horse on fire a horse made of fire, what would happen to your precious china, right? And your glass table and everything else? It is not an energy of your subjective space. It is an energy in the universe. And you cannot write it in your living room. You have to let it take you places. But that will be beyond your control. And that's the exciting part of it. This energy already knows. It has direction. Because of the tear in the fabric, that will kind of dictate the direction. But when you hold on, it will be experienced as even more confusing because a lot of things will be happening. There will be information, energy flowing in that will change things. And when you focus on a low level, all the little details will be rearranged. And you will then run around trying to get them back in place. You have to let go of that level. And you have to focus on the horse knowing what it's doing. That it's cleansing also your path. Did we have any questions?
We do have some questions. We online have gotten a question of, the more I hear you say, this year is the most important. What you do this year will lay the path for the next 2 decades. Behave as if you have a conversation with God. I actually get more demotivated as I feel I have not been able to put in the extra mile already, or I don't see how I can do more or how to change faster. What would you recommend for me to focus mostly on so I'm able to not judge myself for not being good enough and then ending up creating yet more unawareness?
Right. Can you just check if your microphone is on because we can hardly hear you?
Yeah, we will check on the microphone, but it should have gone out fine on YouTube.
Now,
so sorry about that.
The question was about, when everything I say, it feels demotivating because, one is not doing it. But that's the whole point. Get on the horse. Shut up. Let go of all the excuses and stories. This is bullshit. I don't care about how you feel. Your feelings are not truth. They stand in the way of it. Your subjective experience of life is not true. We have to be more disciplined. Spiritual awakening is not about you as a person, it's about you liberating yourself from your human shell and your human consciousness. If you judge yourself, well, stop doing that. It's really that simple. Because, I judge myself. Well, stop. Uplift yourself instead. This is why we need spiritual practices. As I said so many times, your patterns in your brain, they just go 24/7. And they will never change because a program is established. It's a biological reality in your brain as well. It will just continue. It will only change when you introduce something else in the same part of the brain. So spiritual practices are about practicing higher states of consciousness, practicing different behavior, practicing different ways of thinking and behaving as if you are operating in a higher level of consciousness, and doing it so often that even your brain will change. So do not justify how you feel. Practice. And we have to, just like when you go to the gym, if you use your emotions to decide whether or not you're going to the gym, you won't. I don't feel like it today. Of course you don't. That's why you're fat. You have to think clearly. and make decisions beyond your emotions, beyond what you perceive as your need, because your need will always be, I need to snuggle and eat candy. You cannot listen to that because it's not truth. They are the product of your karma and your patterns, which is what spiritual work is all about. We need discipline. So what we learn when it comes to spiritual work is that we establish our disciplines and practices no matter how we feel about it. Just like if you want to go to the gym, you cannot feel if you want to do it that day. You simply do it. And when it comes to spiritual practice, many people tell me, oh, it's so difficult. It's like, do you brush your teeth every day? Do you shower? Do you clean your house? Right? Do you wash your clothes? Do you go to work? How much of that do you want to do? How much of that does make you feel good? None of it. You do it because it's necessary, right? So every single person in the world are already used to going past one's emotions, going past what we think we want, when we recognize that this is necessary. Most people, if they had the choice, they would not go to work. But they can't ask themselves, oh, do I feel like it today? You'll be fired, and then you can't pay your bills. So you go to work. You brush your teeth. You do all of these things every day. So it's having the same attitude towards spiritual practices. And then practice, 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 no matter how you feel, no matter what you tell yourself. Because your stories are not really interesting. They are part of the level you need to transcend. Right? So discipline is not difficult. It's simply making a decision and holding that decision as more important than your feelings. When people say, oh, isn't it supposed to feel good? Like, is washing your clothes supposed to make you feel good? Going to work, rush traffic, standing on the bus waiting to go to work, yay. No, you do it because it's necessary. At some point, yes, when you begin to transcend, it's the high point of the day. Just like when you've gone to the gym for years, it's the high point of the day. Because you get to push yourself. You get to feel yourself and your limits and be in communication with your weakness and strength, and you choose strength and you feel better and you want it. It's the same thing. So if you judge yourself, well, do it anyway. Right? No matter what excuses we come up with, zoom out and see, is this important? Will this help me navigate? Will this make me reach my goals and potential? And if so, stop feeling. Your feelings do not represent truth. They simply show you the biological needs based on whatever you've trained yourself to. So this is both very simple and difficult at the same time until you get it. But my point is, when it comes to all discipline, you're already doing it. But often in areas where you don't realize that you have applied discipline. So discipline in a spiritual way is no different from the discipline you're applying already. So you know how to do it. Lifting yourself does not happen because you wish for it. It happens because you do it. So in spiritual work, in spiritual traditions like this one, you get a lot of different practices. You study, you practice, you get results. It's really that simple. One can also sit in one's own emotions and feelings and stories. You have the right to do so. But that's a choice. It's not something that necessarily will happen if you practice. which is the only way to truly reach higher states of consciousness. It doesn't happen naturally. It only happens as a result of very, very hard work, a lot of effort, but it's what it takes. And especially today, because our starting point is, as we described, the systemic stress and fear, the binary brain, looking at the details, self-medication, all of that. It is more difficult now than ever. And I understand that. But understanding it does not change what's necessary. Right? It means we need to put even more effort than humans had to put in like 200 years ago. It's just a fact. This is why we need to support each other, both inspire each other and kick each other's asses, because we need to be pushed and pulled as well as inspired and loved, and we all know it. So, try to connect with what in you wants to wake up, not with excuses and how we can emotionally sympathize with our own patterns. Any other questions?
We do have some questions, but my sense is it might be time to bring our special guest star in to expand the conversation.
So let's do that.
So we have live from Zanzibar in Tanzania our IKYA student Nora Solberg, who is also manifesting Srishti astrology into the world. So I'm going to patch her in, and IKYA and Nora will be able to talk with each other, even though they can't necessarily see each other, but you guys online and you in the audience will be able to see Nora at least. So here we go.
Hello and warm welcome to IKYA Live, and I'm so thrilled about this focus because it is a year of such an abundant state. And here at Zanzibar and Tanzania, it's such an abundant life that I'm able to observe. And boy, if we had some of that in Europe, we would be so much better off. And this year has started tremendously. I mean, we have just come through a solar eclipse in February, and at this point where the new dominant, the tear, is also opening up in every one of us for a new dominance, right? And now tomorrow we have a lunar total eclipse. They always come in pair, and that is also aligning us. If we want to use astrology, because we can calculate the orbits, we can see what is coming. We can use that to really see, where should I place my focus now? Where would I make the most beneficial growth and expansion? And where does life want me to grow? These phases. So the lunar total eclipse tomorrow is the last one in 2 years. So things are historically changing, but we are also part in making historical changes within. That's how we...
Yes, I will just comment on eclipses in general, because it's important for you to understand the big potential. All eclipses mean that the connection with that celestial object will be not there for a moment, right? And it basically puts a focus on you. Now, when we have all these energies and mirrors in life and support and everything that maintains life, our sense of reality and who we are, we can believe, ooh, I'm totally doing this. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, but you have a lot of help, right? You have a lot of stuff and places that you didn't make. So eclipses will then shift the attention to you and say, well, okay, what have you actually learned? When it's up to you, when you are doing this by yourself, when it's all up to you, what happens then? Right? So basically, in a solar eclipse, think of that as, okay, the face of God disappears. Now it's just your own voice, no guidance, no nothing. Okay, show us what you've learned. Right? It's the movement inward for you to then make the assessment and to be in that dialogue with yourself. Say, okay, what has actually happened in me? What are my skills? Because when no one is uplifting you, are you able to uplift yourself? If nobody is healing you, can you heal yourself? Are you able to navigate and use your skills and your potential and not just always be bathed in the light of the sun? And the same thing with the moon. That represents a lot of the subconscious and that kind of inner dialogue and the kind of stepping stone between you and the divine and a lot of the mirrors in life. So when you lose a lot of your confirmation, because life is always telling you who you are and what you should be doing, and if you're, when that disappears, are you lost? Or are you able to guide yourself? Are you able to process yourself without being told what to do all the time? Right? And these are the kind of the great processes that will be initiated during eclipses. Back to you, Nora.
Well, and then we have another set of eclipses in August. So it's like a window from now until June, summer solstice, and then the next set comes again. So I want to bring our focus to what do we want to have in full bloom by the summer, so that we can know that we're going to harvest something later. And if we put that aim into the season we have now of spring and what we want to manifest these next months, it will be far more productive, and we can aim to full bloom and put a smile on someone else's face and have an abundant state. And then we can get to work. This is like the red button, and we want to get to work. We are waking up to a different reality. And this period until summer solstice in June, we go with the sun through 4 signs. And that can be called to 4 phases, like the frequency of the constellation the sun's in will vibrate also in us. And we can observe what's lit up, what's the highlighted point, and then we can start aiming directly to what benefits our growth the most. So now the sun is in Pisces, and it will be there until the 20th of March. So Pisces has one fish swimming down and the other one going up. We as humans tend to be stuck with everything we find. So it's a sign where we can really investigate where we are stuck, where we have attachment. And that's natural, we have them all the time, but it's a wonderful time to focus on the bigger picture and let go of, like IKYA so beautifully described, the smaller aspects and fractals where we are holding on to something that has no longer value. So being in this co-creation with life is such an abundant state this year, and it will maximize when you let go of the minimals, the smaller parts, and focus on longer lines, what really serves you. And then with the lunar eclipse happening in Pisces tomorrow, what are we in complete denial of? We could get a shock if we knew how much we were in denial of. So it's portioned out, but it is beneficial to really assist ourselves beyond those points of our own reality and tapping into bigger pictures. And resisting what life's offering is so stupid, but we do it all the time. We believe in our own versions. So for the next weeks, focus on letting go and listen to life. Come from within. It's really
I will just want you to comment on that too, because especially when you have eclipses, and Pisces are part of it. Now, if you think of a fish, it's both an individual and a group, right? They're often huge groups, and they can move as one organism, but it's also an individual. So it means that you're also then negotiating yourself and the collective processes. Again, think of the eclipse as also you as an individual in your own strength, your own being, and also being in the context of life, right? And the eclipse, I mean that all of a sudden that's gone because you were supposed to feel yourself, right? So also with the Pisces, it's like, okay, I can just be following the group and then all of a sudden it's you as an individual. Then what do I do? What's my life here? What choices am I making? Right? Because we can also, in this civilization, go through life without having a single individual thought. We can just copy, right? We can just copy emotions. We watch entertainment, so we're basically copying other people's experiences. We can go through life without being an individual. So we need these eclipses. And when we utilize them, it's because go back to you. Go back to your center. Figure out what's in you. What are your original thoughts, beings, actions, feelings? And with Pisces, you go into that discussion, right? That's the potential. Doesn't mean that everyone does it, but we will want to inspire and invite you to make use of it, to really try to look at yourself. Where are you in all of this? Because ultimately, you are the one walking your path. You are the one having to make your decisions and to carry them out. Your skill set, your potential, right? So you cannot blame the world because that's just the landscape, is your ability to navigate and use your skill set. And this also comes in when you look at what you want to plant. It's not whatever. You need to strategize. You need to see what potential do you want to nurture in yourself. You cannot just follow the group. What do you see as your potential? If you can't see it, zoom out. Use the face of God. Use the moon, which is like how you relate to mirrors and your subconscious. It's all there. But be in that dialogue and try to ask yourself these questions and experiment. And then do something, right? This is the year where everything matters. What you start this year, as I've said before, you're not planting flowers, you're planting trees. What you plant this year will grow for many, many, many years. So the crops will not only come this year, but in the years to come. So it matters. Try to shake your self out of this laziness and this glaze of collective consciousness, this glaze of the consumer mentality of the civilization, and wake up. Light yourself on fire spiritually. Activate your heart. Activate you as a being. What do you want as divine consciousness? It's not to just sit there and hope that it's all over soon. It's not what you want. Activate the fire energy. So this is what we're seeing also in this phase. And whatever you do, just do something. Aim in the direction of doing things that matter. Like start things. That can be learn new skills. Seek new experiences. Try to focus on what matters. Try to focus on the big lines in your life. Even if you don't know what they are, aim for it. Back to you.
Yes, and in the midst of the solar eclipse, Saturn and Neptune also met in the sky. Well, for many that doesn't mean a thing, but when giants and like Saturn and Neptune come to the same degree of the zodiac, that is historical. It doesn't happen often. And the two of them represent very different frequency and consciousness. Combined, it's always taking concrete action to examine your next level within and living concrete versions instead of having a good idea and be fluffy. It has to come through you. It has to be materialized and lived. And that's not something you can take years and weeks to ponder about. This will be every day. We will be reminded again and again how important it is to manifest our highest state of consciousness, the next level. So I have to search in myself every day. What's the best version? How can I lift my consciousness? How can I really be my best version again and again and again? And that's what these two giants meet up in the midst of the February, and that isn't happening again for thousands of years. So it's important that we also tap into our creativity to lift ourselves and activate everything we can of resources and have fun with it, so that life can work through us and we can start moving instead of feeling stuck because we don't know what to do. Things can be overwhelming. This is a period, the whole February, open the tier so we can be more active. And now in March, it's coming also to the equinox, and equinox also represents these subconscious and conscious parts in us, has to balance, and we have to find ways to include both and also lift what we see as balance. What is balance in one moment might be a laziness in the next. So always strive to be our best version and really see it as a privilege to evolve. It's a luxury privilege to have the opportunity to expand our consciousness. It's there for everyone.
I was also comment on that, because what you mentioned earlier about the giants. Now, look at this planet right now. It's the big players, right? So you have the big kind of power people in the world playing chess with all of us, right? It's part of that energy, but it also means that that's also happening in you. Your big patterns, and often we just like, oh, it's just who I am, you know, and we may have big patterns that we need to look at, right? Because when you look at the big patterns on this planet being embodied by certain people, right? Again, playing chess, how the billionaire class are just like above the law, they can do whatever they want to, and they are. And seeing that, that is what happens also with your patterns when you are unaware. It doesn't mean that it's not happening. It means that you're completely governed by patterns that may not have, you know, your best interest at heart. Because we are also self-destructive individuals. And we become self-destructive, not because we want to, but through unawareness. And it's basically when we establish a pattern, because we've done something many times, right? And it helps us. So it's supposed to then become an automatic thing so we don't have to think about it anymore. That's evolution. Okay. And I've explained this, that we have patterns, for instance, around eating today that are based on a very different reality. Food used to be scarce. Right? Throughout evolution, there's been very little food. And fat was really important. Minerals, really important. Carbohydrates, really important. So we don't have an off button. And we have the flexibility in our biology to be able to stuff ourselves when we first found a lot of food, which is just eat and eat and eat and eat. And now that's what we do, but we live in a very different reality. So that pattern will now kill us. And it's the same pattern that would save us and keep us alive. Because back in the day, when you found food, just think, oh, I'm not hungry right now. That could kill you. It would have to be a compulsion, right? So just like when you find something that is really delicious, you just stuff yourself, even when you're full. Now it kills us. Then it becomes self-destructive. So we have a lot of these patterns that we have also built in ourselves throughout our own evolution, through many lifetimes. And they just stay there, and they become bigger and bigger and bigger. And we just, it's just how it is. And this is part of the energy right now. It will be more clear to you, but you have to be aware. Because how they push you around will become more visible. And sometimes through others. So listen to other people and how they see you. Because often we're not good at seeing our patterns ourselves. Other people are better at it. Back to my point, this year, do not defend yourself. Try to take it in. So when someone's being rude, it's life trying to help you. When someone is saying something very unpleasant to you, listen to it. Do not defend yourself. Because life is trying to show you it's time to work on the bigger patterns that you may not be aware of. Because the bigger they are, the less you notice. Right? When you walk into a house, do you normally see the beams, the concrete, or do you notice the painting on the wall? Right? We don't notice the big stuff because the big stuff is just how things are. We notice the things that we can immediately have an influence over. So, based on the level of our capability, we will immediately notice what's on the level of what we think we can influence or change. So when you walk into someone's home, if you feel that you're not really good at anything, you will notice the cushions and the plants and stuff that you can dominate and change, but you will not really notice how the house is built. If you're a contractor, you will not see the cushions and the plants, you will see how the house is built. Right? And it's that. So the energy now is also life showing, yeah, it's time to work on the big ones. So shift from being an interior decorator in your own life to being a contractor. Use that way of looking at yourself. So, okay, it's time to demolish the shit, and to make new choices, build new things, and whatever is holding you back. This is the year for the big decisions. And as we're showing, in astrology, we can show you that this is actually happening. And the energy is there, and you can see it in what's happening in the world today, which is just an extension of what's going on. Back to you.
Yeah, wonderful. The intelligence can work through us in a much better way when we stop limiting it by our minds. And the whole April is also filled with the possibility to leave doubt behind. We doubt our observations. If it's not belonging to the collective, it's so easy to doubt ourselves. So this strengthening coming from the inside is part of the journey throughout April. Really insisting on intelligence working with you instead of the definitions we already have. And resistance and doubt is so natural that we think it's some kind of value, even something we should hold on to, always doubt, but we shouldn't doubt our own nature. And this spring holds potential to get clearer what's your true nature and what's the collective part of your brain that has been established by culture and not from your essence, not from your true self. That's a great journey. All of April, you can really assist yourself in trusting and have the will, use your will and insist on always including more of who you truly are. And also later this season, we will study that dedication and working with ourselves, it actually has consequences. Saturn and Neptune will not move that much over this season, so we will always have the remembrance in us, oh, I see something, I cannot unsee it. When you have made a jump, you can't go back again. So it has consequences. And dedication and aligning to break down my own illusions comes with a consequence. I can take big steps. I can move in directions I had no idea was there and available, because life will support it. And we see that through the phase where the sun goes through the constellation of Taurus. It's really a sign of professionalism where we want to really improve the clockwork so that it's ticking exact according to our nature. It's a sign often assembled with gold, which is a quality. But what about your inner golden heart, your qualities, the pure state of heart? And when we nurture that this year, this can be co-creational with life far more than our own limited state of my boundaries. Co-creating means stepping into ethics and dedication beyond what serves the self, but what serves you in a bigger picture.
Exactly. And
by-
the thing is here that once you start working on bigger patterns, right, and stop focusing on details, what is true and what is you, not the assumption of who you are through your patterns and behaviors, but who you are, your essence, your actual vibration, because that is also what you should use to make your decisions, to plant new potential, right? Because it's your path. And for the most part, humans spend their time being someone they're not, and then they suffer because of it. They do things that are not natural to them because they're told that they need to be this or that or do this or that. It's just noise. So once we let the fire cleanse us, and we dedicate ourselves through the heart, and also have the holy flame in our heart, meaning that we cleanse, we cleanse, we cleanse, and we'll let things remanifest in a pure state. It's easier for us to recognize, oh, this is actually me. This is my essence. This is my true self. This is what I want to express. This is what I want to invest in my life. Because often, most of the decisions people make do not come from themselves. It comes from the collective, comes from family, comes from expectations, right? Come from everything we think we have to do to satisfy other people. And then, over time, after a few decades, we begin to feel that this was not my life at all. Oh well, too late now, right? No, it's never too late. We have to learn to live as us. That does not mean that we live outside society. We have to learn how to live as us, as part of society, because otherwise we cannot change it. We cannot change the world if we're on the sideline. We have to be part of it. But we have to be us. Right? So we can do both. And this is, what he's talking about. This is also what's happening this year. Get rid of the noise. Let the fire cleanse you. And let the horse, transport you and lead you. So that what you actually are, your essence, which can be so difficult for the brain to relate to when there's so much noise and clutter. Other people's intentions, what you think you're supposed to do and this or that. So we have no true navigation, no true manifestations, no true sense of self, and then try to figure out what to do. Right? You need to heal, cleanse, aim. And this year, nature will support your efforts. But it's so crucial that you truly go into this process and ask yourself these difficult questions and try to channel, because your brain doesn't know. You know as spiritual essence, not your brain. So you have to go in meditation, you have to connect, you have to be in a state where you can allow yourself to sense it and then make changes and decisions. And understand that life will support it this year more than it has for more than 2,000 years. This year will never come back. It's such a unique year. This is the best year you will ever have spiritually in this lifetime. We need to make use of it. It's crucial. And there are so many mechanisms that will support you. So cleanse away the fluff, right? Understand that from the inside you already know, because you are this essence. You are this consciousness. But your life is cluttered. Your mind is cluttered. So aim for clarity. So also, in a practical way, declutter your life. That can be people, places, things, habits, whatever. Declutter your life. And there are many ways to do this, but hopefully you don't have to list all of it, but you get the point. You know, get rid of clothes you're not wearing. Like, you know, do that cleansing because you need clarity. You need space for this energy in your life to choose purpose. Your brain doesn't know. Only through practices in higher consciousness and working with nature will this happen. But you have to do it very quickly, because this spring already is about you setting the direction. Right? So everything you can do with detox, and many of you have been working with Sarah on detoxes and all that. Please do everything you can to cleanse, detox, declutter, clarify, anything you can do to move into an energy of more clarity, and then it will come to you, because life will show you. Again, this year is unique. We will never get this type of support from nature in our lifetimes again. This is why it's so exciting. But allow yourself to go all in. So when you declutter, and this spring you will also then begin to focus on what actually matters, establish behaviors, choices, ways of being with other people and in the world that matters. Train yourself, because that's how you plant the seeds of your new trees. If you just sit there, those will be the trees you're planting. Right? And that will dictate to you. You will most likely be sitting there for the rest of your life. This is a year where you should learn how to ride the horse. For real. So that you keep riding next year. And the years after. And that is something you do. Then you will accelerate your spiritual growth and your journey. And that will then become permanent. Right? This is part of the great potential this year. Back to you, Nora.
Yeah, I have a couple of points left, but then what you're saying now also is really into the phase where Uranus is entering into Gemini, the sign where we can be mirrored and observe two different realities. The one we observe and the reality behind, which is the reality. And really, as spiritual seekers, this is a sign where the fun begins. This is really an opportunity in April, where Uranus starts, goes into Gemini, then followed by the Sun, means it's all lit up. It's where God speaks to us directly, and Uranus cuts through, help us burn, and be aware of what is really going on. I mean, Uranus has an orbit of 84 years for one orbit around the Sun. So most of us will not be experiencing that Uranus is in Gemini. So this is a once-in-a-life opportunity for 7 years to study, how can I look for reality? What's next level? We adjust our lenses. That's the study of the Gemini phase. We change our lenses, and we start to co-create with others for real, because we don't play into the biggest addiction of all time, right, IKYA? The confirmation addictiveness that we all have, huh? It holds us back. And this season is such an important job that we all co-create to show the way, to not play that game of confirming each other based on what we see and what we do, but really from heart to heart, from the connectedness of essence, who we truly are, we can start holding up a mirror so others can also see who they truly are. And then co-creation begins from a complete new level. And that can start mentoring each other and really say the unpleasant things that needs to be said in a accordance to helping others to see where their true potentials are. Looking at such an addiction like confirmation, I mean, the whole collective is based on that. I say something and you like it and I feel good, and I give you a compliment and you feel good, and then we're stuck in that loop. So it's an historic change if we all engage in breaking that loop this spring, assisting true co-creation and looking beyond. Anything is possible when we look beyond what we see. And as spiritual seekers, that's the core of it. And the fun begins when all the planets move into Gemini this spring, like Uranus and Sun, because we can see it more clearly. Life will support it. And we can also build our core from a complete new starting point. We can assist ourselves and others in really having a core, and that's so valuable because most of us would be tipped over if somebody pushed us, huh? So to have this core and acknowledge who we truly are, so we can stand in the wind. And we know that there will be seasons now where there's a lot of wind and even earthquakes and shattered moments. We have to establish a strong core. Even standing and meditation, so have it from all sides. Let life play you tricks from all sides so you can let go of your illusions and come into a point where the abundance of you can start to be strong. And it's all happening this spring. It's not like you can spread it out till autumn. It's this spring. In autumn we work on something else. The historic change of working with confirmation addiction is this spring. And then we also start to celebrate each other. Celebrate because we see others for who they truly are, and we recognize who we also are ourselves from a different starting point. And by June, Venus moves into Leo. Maybe don't say a word, but Venus is also both vanity issues, but also our inner beauty. And when we see a planet in June moving into our real state of beauty, where we can co-create with nature of our own nature, completely new, that's worth working for.
Thank you. Now, the essence also in that this phase, therefore, is to really get with it, right? We have to learn to stop procrastinating. Factors like stop with the excuses, stop with the laziness, stop with all of what is holding you back. It's interesting often what we protect the most, what we justify the most, are the things that are stopping us. Right, are the things that are holding us back. We're holding on to what is holding us back. It was one thing if we were holding on to what was bringing us forward, right? But we only hold on to what is holding us back. It's not very smart. And then we procrastinate as well when it comes to seeking the potential, right? In this phase, with everything Nora shared, it's so important to understand it's happening right now. Not next year, it's happening now. You need to install a sense of urgency because that is also part of the fire. When you have fire in your heart, you will feel urgency, right? Because it's happening now. You know, when your house is in fire, you don't think, well, yeah, I'll look into it next week. It's happening now, right? And often when we let the holy fire burn, it's gone, right? And what is true will be left. But the urgency and to move out of procrastination is such an important part of what's going on and how we need to deal with this. It's not next week, it's now. We have to utilize every day because a year is very short. And, you know, when you look at a person like Trump, he's utilizing every day, right? And we need to be more like Trump. Not in every aspect, but when it comes to utilizing every day. you know. But it's also taking back your power, right? And try to, as part of this, look at every way you have given away your power, and then blaming other people for it, right? Other people only hold power over you when you have given them power and authority to do so. Because when they then exercise that power, we are reminded that we're not in power here, and then we blame them. Take back your power, which means taking back your responsibility, your opportunities, your executive power, right? And that is what we all need to do. We cannot be powerless and then also try to make big changes, right? We need to take back our power, but not with a story that other people have taken it away. You have given it away. So it's just like, it will only be given away for as long as, you know, you decide that this is the case. It belongs to you. And you only give the power away that you do not want to exercise yourself. It's an outsourcing. So it's still you, but now through someone else, so we can blame them. Empowerment means also that you take back your power and that you exercise your freedom as a human, as a spiritual being. That you are the one deciding your path, that you are the one creating. And it means stop following. You know, don't be just a product of the civilization. Don't consume other people's thoughts and feelings and opinions and whatever else. It has to come from the inside, and as Nora talks about, it's going into that column, going into that strength, and waking up as a real being with all opportunities and freedoms and all your kind of skills and potential, and it's for you to navigate. But you have to get on the horse, get with it, you know, and try to ignite that fire in you. Fire is also passion, right? How much passion do you have in your life? Passion, it's the combination of the heart and the sexual center, right? And that's when what you do becomes kind of passionate. That combination is also how you really create from a divine perspective. Because it has to come through you, and then it has to become you. So it's a combination of the heart and the sexual center, and then you have that love and that creative force. And then you create and you express and you manifest. Without passion, you will not really be creating anything. You will be consuming. And this is also, I've talked a lot about the consumer mentality in the civilization, but the more we consume, the less passion we have. And then we consume other people's passion and judge them for not having enough passion. Right? They're not doing their best, obviously. You know? It's that. We need to ignite our own passion. And this year, try to find your thing or things. I'm so happy whenever someone kind of finds a channel and a form for their passion. And when they do, there is an ignition of that energy, right? And then you will do something that matters. Because when we are in a state of passion, what we do matters. It will impact the world, because that is also the divine energy of creation, right? And you can feel when you have passion for something, it's not just your own energy. There's something else coming through. And it's when what you do and create then becomes an extension of the universe creating itself. You will always feel passion. It will not be sacrifice As I said many times, in spirituality, true spiritual work, there is no such thing as sacrifice. Because then you're still part of the ego game. There will be passion. So you will love what you do. You will love also carrying out God's work or life's work or your own work, because it will be the same. Right? So try to find ways this year to activate your passion in whatever way. Many people today, they have no idea because we're switched off. Right? We're so much in stress and fear and consumption and self-medication and small things. Passion are always about the big things, things that matter. Right? So if you don't feel or experience passion, try to play around with it. See that ignition, like igniting that energy, is part of internalizing the fire. Right? And this year, there is more fire energy on this planet than ever. And I've talked to many students who've experienced that. They're able to tap into it. And they're just like, they can feel it. And they get more ideas and they just want to do stuff. And they're like, living their life, and because they can feel it. It's a very potent, extremely powerful energy that is available to every single, being on this planet this year. So no excuse for, being lazy or not taking part in it. It is floating around on this planet right now. It's a very strong sense of passion. And again, think of the horse wanting to do stuff, wanting to go places, wanting to make changes, and you just do it because you want to. You can also practice filling what you're already doing with passion. If you're making a sandwich, how can you do that with passion? Right? If you're walking your dog, how can you do that with passion? How can you have a conversation with someone and making it passionate? How can you, drive to work passionately? How can you engage in life with more passion? Because it's basically, as I said, when you have the heart and sexual center activated and the universe begins to project through it. Because that is the combination that also will ignite. So try to look at, play with it. Because it's a natural part of your flow. And we have to relearn. I said, this year is getting back on the horse in so many aspects. And passion and purpose are connected. We feel purpose when we are in passion. Right? Because passion will make what we do purposeful. Right? So just take a look at yourself right now. How much passion do you actually experience? It will not come to you. It is who you are and how you live your life as you. Doing what matters as an extension of your nature. You will never feel passion when you're living someone else's life. When you're living your life and making your decisions based on what you think other people want you to, what's expected, what you should be doing, all of that, that's not passion. It's when it's this raw force of nature coming through you and you're doing your thing. Right? It is important because it's your path, it's your existence. So allow yourself to explore passion this year in whatever way you can explore it, in whatever way you can express it. But recognize that energy and also lack of it, right? And understand that nature has a very strong passion energy this year, so you can tap into it, you can channel it. You can just let yourself be filled with it. And again, many students have experienced this. They tap into it, they experience it, and all of a sudden, they're on fire. It's available to all of you. So, stop being boring. Because when we're passionate, we're not boring. You have to seek that state, right? And when you're in a state of passion, you don't do boring things. Everything becomes vibrant and wonderful and interesting, right? So this is yet another potential this year. It's really important that you try to fill your life with passion, because that will also guide you. That will make your life more interesting, and that will also install that fire energy in you. And as we know, with passion, we move more quickly, right? And especially this year. Then we're able to make big changes very quickly. And that's, again, the horse energy. Any more questions?
Yes, we have a question here in the audience.
Thank you. So is this passion, like the sexual center heart cocktail, is that the key to opening up? Is that the match for the fire horse energy so that this can become permanent, like Nora's speaking about? Because she's mentioning that this can become the path of your life.
Yes. Now, it's basically, I would say, the fire horse energy is head, heart, and sexual center. Because the horse energy is also about, again, the big changes, the big pictures, the big strategies, and that's also the third eye and the mind. But it's utilizing that as a kind of cohesive body and energy, and then moving, making big changes, building, making the big jumps, right? So it's important that we this year don't overthink, don't overanalyze, we just do. Trust the process. Trust life. Right? And our job is to show up. Life's flow is already there. As I said, there is a plan for you. There is a divine plan. There is a divine path. So it's for us to do whatever we can to wake up to that plan, to that path, and to exercise it with passion. It's not difficult, right? But in this civilization, we watch Netflix instead, right? So pull yourself out of it, and you use this year to reignite, to realign, to live a big life. Remember, we are made of the universe. We have universes inside of us. We're not meant for small lives. We're meant for big lives, big existence, big expressions, big journeys, right? Big plans, big manifestations. So learn to become bigger in every aspect of yourself and your life. So one exercise could also be looking at your life and say, okay, how can I make this bigger? How can I do this in a bigger way? All right, small is safe. Big is not. But for as long as it's safe, there's no passion. Passion is being in communication with what is beyond your control. Right? So it's never safe. So try to play with, even in your daily life, how can you make this bigger? You are not this small. You are big. You are unlimited. And with a fire energy, open up. See how big you can become. See how big your life can become. And if not this year, plant the seeds. Start the journey. And decide that your life is a journey. Move. Do things. Make changes. Any other questions?
Yes, we actually have a question in from Los Angeles. And it seems quite potent, so I want to share it with you guys. So I'm already halfway through life, and knowing that we've entered this endarkenment, I assume I may not live to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Could you speak a bit about how to move through this endarkenment, especially if, as you said, things may continue to escalate? I understand the importance of holding focus, not getting pulled into the collective consciousness, and staying connected to the bigger picture, but it's so difficult when it feels like everyone and everything around you is working against that. I am in the United States, in Los Angeles, and I literally see the political changes unfolding outside my window. It's really hard to not let it affect me or stress me out. How do you find your inner light and share it with others in the midst of that?
It's easier to find it when times are dark, because you will not find it in the world around you. You have to find it inside. And that is the whole point, as I said, of both what we call dark night of soul and periods of endarkenment. Because it means, just like an eclipse, you can no longer rely on the outer world, rely on what is given to you. You have to stand up. You have to use what you've got. So it's phases where you are to then figure out, what have I actually learned? How far have I actually come? Because, when you are in a space filled with light, it's easy to believe, ooh, I'm this light. Yeah, then we turn the light off. How much light is left? Because it should come from you. So this is where we live. This is the opportunity also spiritually. And this is also why I say that the whole kind of alternative field has failed, because when the darkness comes, there's very little light. There's just a lot of people posing and pretending. True spiritual work means that the light is activated from within, and it's true, and it's permanent. And then you bring it. You don't have to be inspired. If you need inspiration, you're not there yet. You shouldn't need anything, because it's coming from higher consciousness. It's being channeled. It's coming from you. So it means that the world needs your light. And when that's a fact, stop complaining. Stop whining. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Do your job. What we can do is then dedicate ourselves to more spiritual practices, channeling more light, channeling more healing, living as an example of the consciousness we want to represent. If we are affected, we will become the same energy. As I said, when we react to something, we become the energy of what we react to. When we judge something or someone, we become the energy of what we are judging. That's not a solution. It means that we're still part of it. We are to be what brings balance, what brings healing, what brings harmony. So we have to do the job in ourselves so we can make a difference. And when we know we can make a difference, it doesn't matter how dark it is. We will be inspired by the darkness, because it will inspire us to channel more light and to be the guides and to be the light beings that people need to meet. So where you live and where everyone lives now, we should be the beings of light that people are looking for. You have to stop looking for them yourselves. Be one. And if you're not there yet, well, practice until you are. Meditate more. Work on your patterns. Open your heart. Do everything I teach you to do until your light is on. And when it's on, make it stronger. Go from being a flashlight, to a lighthouse. And go from lighthouse to becoming a small sun. It's needed. This is also why our spiritual journey and our spiritual expansion is ultimately not about us. It's about how we are part of existence, how we're part of life, and how we can also affect others. Because in darkness, it means many people have not yet connected to their own light. and they will gravitate towards the ones who carry the light. So, are you one of those people? So we should take inspiration from these times and understand that, yeah, this is part of your purpose. Just like some people during war times, they report for duty and they want to be of service to their country. It's the same thing, but you can be of service to the world. You can be of service to spiritual healing and expansion. But it has to come from within. And we need to understand now that we're living in these times. You should wake up every day wanting to be in service, sharpening yourself, doing your practices in such a way that your light shines. And it's not about you. It's giving other people light so they can navigate. So do not be affected. Do not react. Do not judge. You will block yourself. Practice. Fill yourself with light and love. Make a difference. It takes discipline, it takes dedication, but this is what spiritual work is about. And for me, the endarkenment is very healthy because often spiritual work can be very self-centered. When you look at human history, when they connect, they leave the world to a better place, off in an ashram or whatever, and they sit there and they can bathe in the light, but they don't really do anything. Now we have the opportunity to reach higher levels of consciousness and be of service to people in the real world, because that is an important test. Is important training, because ultimately, the farther you go spiritually, the more it is expected of you to serve. I'm here on this planet because of what's happening. You will be sent where the light is necessary. Not, you cannot be in a state where you think, oh, it will be disturbing my light. You will go where it's necessary. And even in your early stages of awakening, life will want you to move to wherever there is less light than you have. You understand? So no matter how little or small your light is, there are always people and spaces and places with less light. You can always do something. But the best thing you can do is increase your light. That does not mean to increase your ego. It's the opposite. Discipline, cleansing, purity, dedication, for real. Until you know that the moment you leave your home, your light is on. You're a walking lighthouse. And you dedicate yourself so life can use you and place you where the light is necessary. Every day. Always. So, we have to snap out of our own feelings. How everything is affecting us. Because then we're just blocking ourselves. This is your opportunity. This is your cue. If you ever had a thought or idea, I want to serve, I want to help, this is it. It's now. It's happening in the world now. So, if you have these thoughts about being in service, and you are not practicing, and you are not being that light, then you're not being honest with yourself. You just like the idea of service. You don't actually want to do it. So this is really like how we deal with all of that, because yes, I can understand that all of you are affected. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. just like in times of war where people report for duty and they can help, with even helping the sick, helping, there will be devastation everywhere. But you cannot think, how is this affecting me? You don't care, because there are more important things happening. Right? And you all need to wake up and move into that mindset. The Endarkment, as it started several years ago, we're still in the early stages. This is your cue. This is part of why you have incarnated. To practice like being in service this way. And then it's fun. Right? It's challenging, but it's fun and interesting also to make a difference this way, and knowing that your life has purpose. It's needed. It's needed everywhere. There are always ways to help and to be of assistance. So, whatever you do, please be in service. It was you?
Yes, we got a question in the audience.
Can you hear me? The year of the fire horse started 17th of February, is it right? So could you speak a bit to the year to come, and if there are any cycles which is higher in pace and slowing down, or how we can think about and plan in the year? It's now every day, but still if the year will unfold in different intensities, say it that way.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about this right now. So I think it's more because it's not like most of you will change your modality from week to week. This is more an overall thing for the entire year. And although in Chinese astrology it started recently, it's not like it's that date. It has been slowly kind of phasing in, and it will be kind of phasing out again. So this entire year will carry what we've been talking about. And it will basically, if we think of the pace and intensity, this year will be permanent. It will be still going up and down, but still with more intensity than normal. So in a way, it's not necessary to talk about the details, more how do we deal with it, right? And just how we can show up, how we can utilize it. But one thing, again, very important, is do not procrastinate. Often, as humans, we want to do things at our own pace, in our own way, right? And this is how we, as individuals, an ego, can create the story of control. Because, it's basically then, as long as it happens the way I want it to, I'm in control, right? I decide. I'm ready now. I wasn't, but now I am. But if you're surfing, and the wave comes, it doesn't care. Like, if you're ready, that's the wave. And you become ready because you jump on the wave. Being ready is not a thing. That's simply a story of control that the ego makes up. Showing up, however, that is important. So try to replace the thought of being ready to simply showing up. Life will never offer you something you're not ready for. It's impossible. So show up. Jump. Just do. And understand that through a flow, through a presence, when you show up and when you're aligned, you will also be channeling skills. You will also be able to say and do things you're not able to do and say as just you. Most of you have this experience, right? So we know it. When you show up, you begin to behave as that point. And nature will express itself through you. So, do not procrastinate. learn to be very quick. Because nature always moves on, right? It's one big body, one big organism. And life will not tell you that, you know, several months from now, we will be doing this then, right? What we can see through astrology is we can see kind of how potentials unfold. But there's no fatalism in it, because it's basically just what nature will release, the different spaces. You still have to show up, you still have to do, right? It's basically just like saying, well, spring comes. Okay, if you're a farmer, you still have to plant the crops, right? But then you know it's spring. If you don't do anything, it means nothing, right? So it is with astrology and looking at how the different cycles work. It is not a given that something will happen in your life. It's for you to utilize the different seasons, the different waves, right, in life. And that's what we're talking about. So that you can then plant crops and you can also, you know, reap. You can plant and you can plant trees and you can do this and that. And you can therefore achieve a lot more in your spiritual journey as a human in this life than you can otherwise. As we talked about today, this collective consciousness, this civilization, it's not only the endarkenment, but also the lowering of consciousness through this systemic stress and consumption, all of that. So even in spiritual work, it can be difficult to kind of keep your eyes open, because everything in this world is trying to make you fall asleep and to suffer more, right? And it's a lot of work to simply not fall. And it can feel like it shouldn't be this difficult. Sure, but here we are, right? We have to let go of it should be this way, it should be that, because it isn't. This is the most challenging time for humans ever to reach a higher consciousness. And yet, it's the easiest. Because when you accept the state of the planet and the consciousness and what's going on, and you then do the work, you just accept, okay, I have to practice 24/7. Then after a while, you get a hang of it. It's like, you know, if you want to learn how to surf, you normally start with small waves, right? You start in the kiddie pool. You start with the simple things, right? So, let's say they want to learn how to surf and there are only big waves. Then you just have to show up for that, because that's what you're dealing with. Then it's like, figure it out. You will fall off and fall off, but you will do it. And it means that you will learn how to surf a lot quicker. Right? The learning curve will be like that. And this is what we're talking about. So once you show up, once you learn how to practice and how to be and what to do, you grow even faster, which means then you reach higher consciousness much more efficiently, because there's no room for baby steps. But if you don't have that motivation, it will feel impossible. And for most people, that's the case, and they just give up and fall asleep. And it's important that you also have these types of conversations with people. That it is possible to wake up. It is possible to walk a spiritual path in today's world. But it's different than it used to be. And we need to practice differently. We need to behave differently. It's more comprehensive. This is also why I teach that your whole life needs to be a spiritual practice. In the old days, right, life was calm and nice throughout most of evolution. You just like, you know, a day was a day, and you did one thing, or the pace was very different. So for most of the human journey, yeah, you had peace and quiet already. So it was, yeah, sit down and meditate, and you needed one practice, and like everything worked. Today, because it's all directions at once, multiple layers of noise, and harm, it has to be comprehensive in a very different way. One practice is not enough. 2 are not enough. 5 are not enough. 10 are not enough. 20 are not enough. You have to learn how to deal with the entirety of your human existence and journey, and find practices for every single aspect of your human journey. Now, this is what I teach. And this is why it works. Because over time, your students, you kind of learn, oh, I do that, and gradually it becomes natural behavior. You get it. It is natural for you to, when something happens, you start working with it. When you're in that space, you do that. In your interaction with people, you do that. You work with yourself, you work with your emotions and memories and different spiritual practices here and this and that, and it becomes one thing. Because you need to show up for yourself and your entirety, the entirety of your human process and journey. So it is different than what it used to be. But this is how it's done. And it works. But then it's also for all of you to shine that light in the world, to inspire other people, to wake up, to understand the potential of what these times are, to not be affected, to not lose kind of power, but do the opposite, right? And say that your light is easier to notice in darkness. It's easier to notice yourself in your process when you're not overwhelmed by everything around you, because that's noise. When you have to bring it, when you have to be it, and that's what you're practicing, it's actually easier. It's more inspiring, right? So please talk with people about this, and also about this year, but about also how to approach spiritual work in these times. Because it cannot be self-indulgent. It doesn't work anymore. We have to go straight into service. We have to go straight into transforming everything, right? And this year is such a wonderful year to really try to both ignite everything and be in communication with everything, and nature will support it. Any other questions?
No, but it's seeming like a good time for Nora to be able to sign off, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Now,
Yep.
try to just use the image of the fire horse, right? What it represents. The energy, the potential, the movement, the jumps, the fun, the freedom. It is supposed to be healing and bringing you to higher consciousness, bringing you to a better kind of path in your life, right? And the key is passion. You have to care about you. You have to care about your journey, about what and who you are, what you are going to bring to the world. Because at this point, it's not about what the world can bring you anymore. Because that will fall apart. It's what you can bring to the world. Of what is true, what is real, how you can represent the divine, how you can represent love, how you can be the embodiment of the healing, and what is pointing forward in the evolution of humans and this entire civilization. You represent when you're by yourself, because you're still vibrating, you're still breathing. But especially when you're interacting with the world, when you're with other people, really try to inspire yourself every day so you can inspire other people. In your morning meditations, be sure to switch your light on. Switch on your heart, switch on your sexual chakra. Go into the world and make a change, make a difference. Make people feel that there is such a thing as a loving, purposeful human being, full of light that they can relate to. Carry your conversations and your presence in such a way that you give people hope, that you give them direction, that you allow for them to connect with their own heart, with truth coming through them. Because there is nothing in this world right now that can help them. It will only happen by people interacting with people like you. And understand that responsibility, but also recognize that opportunity to be someone that matters every moment of the day. Someone who can inspire others to transform, to heal, to journey every moment of the day. Because this is the wonderful thing about the Enlightenment, is what is true will surface. What matters will surface. Because everything else will be noise, and so it is in you. So, declutter, purify in such a way that your light can come through. So that you as purpose are not distracted by the noise in life, by the noise in yourself. The energy this year means that you will be supported by life when you represent, when you try to be part of the change, and when you try to guide other people, when you try to be someone other people can rely upon. Be trustworthy. Be loving. Be a presence of healing and guidance. Right? Live it. And ultimately, you are to become the fire horse this year, so that other people can feel that energy. And so you may also be a vehicle in their transportation, their swift transformations and movements, so that you can have an impact. Because this is the best year ever. It's the best year you will ever experience in this lifetime, and so it is for other people too. Use it. Wake up every day with the intention of making this day matter. Making this day a day to remember. Making this life memorable, not just to you, but to everyone else too. My love is always with you.
And now a brief sign-off from Nora.
Have a wonderful year and invest. And thank you for joining tonight. Listen to the recording and co-create for real from inside out. And see you soon again. Bye for now.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you, IKYA. Thank you for a beautiful evening. We have a special gift for all of you online. In the YouTube chat, I have posted the link to the Zoom that Nora was coming in on. So she's going to stay live on Zoom if you would like to join her and ask any further questions about the Year of the Fire Horse or Sadisti astrology. And then a warm invitation and reminder to all of you to join us for the Antar Satsang Gathering on the Inner with IKYA coming up on Sunday, the 15th of March. And the Antar Satsang Gathering is, it's basically a silent retreat on the inner. And you can choose to participate on your own only in silent meditation and reflection, or you can come here to IKYA Center here in Oslo, Norway in silent retreat mode, or you can join us also on Zoom, as we will have 3 guided meditations based on tonight's teaching. So it's a way to really lean in spiritually to the teaching tonight and the kind of call to action that we have received, so that you can begin to unpeel and work with the principles that have been presented and really, lay the track for this year to be your best year ever. So more information is at our homepage, IKYA.org. Also go to our Facebook profile for IKYA.official, because there we have all the events that are happening, including the Antar Satsang Gathering and everything else. We really appreciate you all joining us tonight for IKYA Live, and we look forward to our next IKYA Live coming up on the first Monday in June. So until then, let's make this year of the Fire Horse the best one ever.